Okay, well, I said I'd give you an update on this welding/utility table when I get around to making the improvements or modifications to it that I want to do. And I'm getting ready to start. Now, first thing I did, I've already done it, and it's not finished, but I got it started. I welded on this tube here to hold my grounding cable and my feed tube from the little MIG welder. So that's number one. What do we got here on the table? Well, we got ourselves a weight bar that when the lads and I were out walking. I found this in the parking lot. It's got some angle iron, got a piece of 1.5" OD steel pipe, 1.25" OD steel pipe, 3/8 threaded ready rod, and some more recycled treasures, a couple old barbecue grills. Somehow I'm going to use them in here as shelving or something like that. We'll see how it goes. But they do have other uses. I'll show you one. Barbecue grills are a great thing for rodent protecting your decks. Keeps the critters from crawling underneath. Take these grills away. Any shelving or storage improvements to this thing will be made secondary. At the moment, my primary goal is to do something with the vise. Now at the moment, the vise is here on my bench on the corner, and every time I cut, grind, or weld there, the particles are in this area, and I've got wood there and other supplies, and it just makes a general mess. I would like to be able to get that vise on one end of this table, and that's what all this material here is for. I think it's going to end up being installed over here, kind of like that, but it's not going to be on top of the bench. I don't want it there. So this tube slides inside this tube, and by no coincidence, this bar slides inside the smaller tube. Now, there's many ways of doing this. I've seen videos from other guys that have made a side mount, just put the vise there. But I've got limited space in here. I don't want the bench getting wider this way, and I don't want it getting, they could come an inch or two this way, maybe 3 inches, but that's it. You put these bars underneath here, attached under here, like so. Attach the vise on. You can pull the vise out, slide it into here. But it's still here. It's making the bench longer, and I don't want that. My plan is to mount pieces of both of these, 1.5 inch square and 1.25 inch square, underneath, and in such a way that they don't interfere with this thing being shoved out of the way completely. Because I want to have this bar in here. I want to have the vise underneath. I want to pull it out, and then, because this is round, I want to be able to rotate it. Bring the vise, rotate it 180 degrees. So the vise will be stored under here, but when I want to use it, I'll rotate it up and it'll be sitting out here. But I'll be using the table at the time, and it sticks out a little ways, that's okay. When I'm all done, I'll rotate it back, slide it back under the table. That's the goal. Now, how am I going to do it? This is where we walk into the level of unknown. My plan is to drill and tap this bar. It's a 1 inch bar. This is a 3/8 threaded rod. I'm going to thread this, and we have a plate here to mount the vise on. So this is going to be threaded, and I'm going to match drill 2 holes to this, something like that. That plate is going to be attached This plate's going to be attached to the threaded rod with nuts, and the threaded rod is going to screw into this bar. Now the whole question is whether two of these things will be strong enough to hold that vise, because it's going to want to do this. I think it will be, but that is the unknown at the moment. Let's get started. I got some measurements to do. Got to get this bar ready. I got to get it cut, drilled and tapped to accept this rod. Figure out the length of everything I need here to make it work. Okay, first things first. Cut this thing off at 23 inches. Okay, one bar. So the reason I want the vise on this bench is twofold. One is just handy because I'm going to do a lot of work on this bench. The other reason is the bench is on wheels and I can wheel it out here. So when I'm doing grinding, if I'm standing here, it's going to go out onto the driveway and not into the garage. And when I'm doing things like you just saw me do hacksawing, all that vibration and noise, and if I'm pounding stuff in the vise or trying to bend things, I don't transfer that noise and that vibration into the house. This angle I am set on here like that, no matter where I put it, these two peaks will find the center. So we put a mark right there, and we put a mark right here. So the vise will sit in here, like that, and I'll be able to put a hole here and a hole here with enough end play that it'll be sound. It has to be match drilled to whatever I do there. In fact, I should drill this and use it to put my marks on the bar. So, I need to mark that. So we have a center line, we have that thing figured out, and then I can see where I can put my holes. Now these don't have to be exact, but they should be more or less centered on the material that I have left here, and have enough room to put a nut on. Got the bar drilled and threaded and the 7/16 inch threaded ready rod in there. I found when I'm adjusting these nuts that the threaded rod is turning up and down. I don't want it to be able to move. I think the easiest thing to do is to put a couple tack welds on it, and as long as they're in line with the slot, So I made this thing with the slot. As long as the welds are inside here, as long as they're on the center line, they won't interfere with this mechanism. It's a tight fit. Okay, so let's give those things a couple of tacks. That still slides over. The vise actually sits on top of here, but I'm going to need it for cutting and whatnot, so I'm not going to do that just yet. I need to rig this piece and this piece into the table. Make sure everything slides and rotates before I bother to put the vise up on top of here. Okay, getting time to put the sliders and the vise mounting plate mechanism together on the bottom side of this table. I need to cut a slot here where I want it to line up, similar to this piece. So good alignment and sliding and rotation with the bar. And this piece goes like that. Question is whether I got all my dimensions right for this to go far enough that way and have the whole vise out of sight and be able to come back far enough to get the vise rotated without this coming out of here. So I got the camera here aimed up underneath the bench so you can see the two brackets and the mounting bar. I ended up putting an 8-inch extension on the bar, which you ought to see the weld here coming soon. Oh, there it is there. Right where my hand is. But I put that on there so that I can pull this vise out a long way, so I don't have to worry about the bar coming out of the bracket over here. The vise will normally be sitting here like this, but when you're inserting it and rotating it, you want to be able to turn it easily and not have to worry about the bar coming out and down underneath. Weld a couple of nuts on here and a bolt. That'll slide back and forth, and then I'll be able to screw it in and lock it into this part here so that it can't turn either way, because right now if I let go of it, it can easily turn. Next thing I want to deal with is this grinder and wire wheel. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take an easier route. I'm going to weld this down underneath here on the support crossbar. And then I'm simply going to mount that grinder to this pole. And we'll mount the grinder on it at one end, like so. And then it'll be able to slide in and out of this in here, and it will be removable. And I will stow it away. If I want to use it, I'll go get it. I'll slide it into this beam that will be left welded here, and then I'll be able to use it. Roll the vise away, we can put the grinder in or out, whatever we want. Take it away, it doesn't interfere with the rest of the table, you want to use it. Slide it in and you're good to go. And going forward, I think what I'm going to do is just add to the shelves and stow it down here. So this marks the end of my welding utility table modifications for now. I've got a stowaway vise and a bench grinder which I can mount on here and use, and then stow it away as well. So originally all I was going to do was put this in and then I was going to take it out and store it on a shelf somewhere, but I realized that I really don't have a lot of storage for it. I copied the same idea that I have on this one to a locking mechanism, that is. This mechanism here locks the vise to the table so it can't turn. Down and under here got another bolt which locks this thing in place. Now is a locking nut and bolt on here absolutely necessary? I would say yes, because there's a fair bit of vibration. So that's the way it is when you use it. Now when you want to put it away, turn it over. A bit awkward to get it in there, but once it's in, it stows away nicely, and there's no interference with the side of the table here. I'm not interfering with anything underneath the bench. In fact, the mount that I had for this router underneath here will still work with both of these accessories. So I can have still have my router mounted under here, have that grinder stowed away, and have that stowed away. The other thing I'd like to show about this vise is the fact that, yes, my original design of this was to have it mounted this way, but then I realized if you're cutting long pieces, it'd be nice to have the use of the 4-foot table. It takes 3 holes to mount this thing, but if you rotate it 90 degrees, 2 of the original 3 holes already line up, and simply have to drill a 4th. So the vise can also be mounted like that, and it doesn't take long to switch it around. Stowaway grinder and a stowaway vise. No interference at the end of the table, no interference here with the side of the table. So I can roll it back into its usual storage place. I even got a bit lucky here with the, once the cabinet's back in, the grinder is really close, and it doesn't interfere with the door. It won't open all the way up without jamming, but that's okay. It's open far enough. Sometimes you get lucky.